With a flash of light giving way to a great and cavernous wormhole in a tightly packed nebula beyond regularly settled space and safe from detection, 10 tritanium hexahedrons push their way into the universe, heavily armored but unwittingly separated from their return destination. There is a problem. The Collective is beyond the reach of their transmissions. They are cut off from the Queens, from the rest of the Borg Collective. Processing power, limited to the 10 tactical cubes they brought, is reduced to only 1.8 million drones. Simulations verify a probability of return approaching 0 with their sudden lack of resources, cast away in an entirely new universe with no choice but to start again with too small a detachment and no central base of operations. If they are to return home and rejoin the Borg Collective as intended, a new Borg Collective will need to be founded in this universe, united under the same goals as the original, with the sole addition of returning home to once again connect with their parent group. Parts are brought together. A new Borg Queen rises within the depths of the nebula, as what few drones can be spared are assembled into the new avatar for this small but potent collective. Upon a single tactical cube within the nebula, hidden away from the rest of the galaxy, she waits in orbit over a young but stable G-type star, a suitable power source to begin construction on a transwarp hub from which to dominate this new universe. Harsh radiation and sensor-jamming particles protect the nascent megastructure from prying eyes as it slowly builds itself into the primary transportation network for her tiny faction. Over time, that single tactical cube will be built upon to make this universe's Unicomplex 001, but, for now, it merely acts as her station upon which to plan and scheme. Though transwarp coils pale in comparison to the might of a proper hub, they still take the new Borg Collective very far in a very short amount of time, and long-range scans are already returning, offering new information on the strange and foreign universe within which it has arrived. Very little is recognizable, except one species on a planet not quite 50 light-years toward the galactic center. Species 5618. Humanity. Billions of humans. No less than 10 billion humans. Humanity has been assimilated before, and is ideal for assimilation again. This is exactly what is needed. First, the new Borg Collective will raise its numbers by several billion and take possession of what will undoubtedly be a well-developed world capable of supporting their expansion. Thereafter, they will properly split up their numbers and take advantage of the fact that nobody in this universe yet knows of their arrival. Scattering fields up, a single tactical cube powers toward the planet, crewed with 180,000 drones. The Collective is unwilling to risk more than that, even though moving in force would seem the most prudent option for their stranding. However, if this universe holds something appreciably more powerful than the new Collective, as Species 8472 have been, it would be best for the bulk of their number to maintain a stealth position until further information can be gathered. At the lowest standard speed for its coil, the cube arrives in just under 24 standard hours, appearing far beyond the border of the heliosphere for the sake of safety before doing closer scans. The planet has a large city with over 10 billion inhabitants, alongside several hundred million throughout smaller communities around the world, all with gigantic structures that databanks confirm are almost certainly dedicated to religious worship, irrelevant and inefficient constructs that hinder the achievement of perfection. The city itself is a towering mountain of spires, however, deep scans revealing it going far underground, with a geothermal tap in the center that provides functionally endless energy, for their needs, to the rest of the megastructure. Utilizing a trans-sea maneuver to insert over the planet, they appear roughly 100,000 kilometers above the surface and transport in several drones at different levels throughout the structure. Simultaneously, their cutting lasers and tractor beams find it easy enough to penetrate the rudimentary electromagnetic shield arrays that protect the topmost spires of the mountain of buildings. Even the unexpected dimensional shunting factors of these strange shield arrays is easily overpowered with a rudimentary increase in beam potency. Within minutes, the highest-ranking authorities of the Hive City are dragged off to the cube to be assimilated, and hundreds of drones are transported into the structure in their stead. Most drones are positioned purposefully in the deepest and most engineering-oriented sections of the Underhive, able to easily weather the toxic conditions and begin assimilating necessary machinery. Before any humans ever even notice a drone, they are already assimilating the Underhive, injecting their nanoprobes into the very foundations of the Hive City itself to transform the structure from the underground up. Species 5168 is unable to respond before the tactical cube escapes 31 seconds by transwarp back into the borders of the star system, the Borg having only stayed around long enough to scan the several not-quite-kilometer-long ships and defense platforms in orbit over the planet. The technology of Species 5618 is rudimentary here, and their culture highly religious, but they are different in ways that fit the needs of the new Borg Collective. Here, humanity holds most of the galaxy, and is ever at war against many different factions that have strange and mysterious technologies. This version of the species is not merely billions, but perhaps even quintillions strong, with this planet merely a small shrine world beyond the edge of accepted imperial territory that has lost contact with the rest of humanity some decades ago, thanks to the gradual failing of a piece of technology that acts as a sort of interstellar lighthouse by which to navigate. They have no powerful computers, no artificial intelligence, very few digital systems, and nothing in the way of faster-than-light technological communications. They are absolutely primitive. But, at the same time, advanced in ways the new Borg Collective has never seen. There are entirely new species of humanity to assimilate, abhumans as they are called by Species 5618, each of which have different biological distinctions that set them apart from one another. There are, if the superstitious thoughts of the planetary rulers are to be believed, great and powerful angels that wear powered armor in battle against great foes and live for thousands of years. While no such beings exist on this planet, which they call Ultima Macharia, they are a force that does allegedly exist. This version of Species 5618, despite all of their primitive technology and superstitious attachments, is more than suitable for assimilation. Already have the drones proliferated among the lowest levels of the Hive, assimilating hundreds each in the otherwise packed conditions below. Now the tactical cube returns to orbit. Now they greet their first addition to the new Borg Collective.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add more biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
The ships and defensive platforms answer with violence, firing off numerous laser batteries which do little in the way of harm to the mighty armored cube. But data is already being logged. The Borg cube will adapt all the same, even to sources already deemed obsolete. Slow-moving torpedoes impact on the armor and cleave small portions open, but they quickly repair before the ships of the System Defense Force can fire another salvo. Each ship has weak shields and weaker weapons, doing little even on the first salvos, and now becoming more and more impotent with each passing minute as the Borg adapt to their primitive means of attack. One goes for what can only be a ramming run, but the cube captures it in a tractor beam and transports over 10 drones to take care of whatever is inside. Slowly, in turn, all the shields of the enemy ships go down by way of targeted cutting lasers. Then engines. Then drones beam aboard and assimilate the ships one by one. Without the benefit of strong weapons or shields, the SDF vessels are carved up like First Contact Day salmon and assimilated within hours. Those that aren't immediately destroyed, of course. Within the bowels of Ultima Macharia's lone Hive City, the hundreds or so drones first installed by the cube hours ago have become hundreds of thousands. Tight conditions in the Underhive combined with primitive weaponry and a general lack of coordination allows for entire bands of drones hundreds strong to march through the streets under constant lasfire, only to break into any door they can find and forcibly assimilate those inside. At first, fire is returned, but, before long, the drones simply ignore the counter-assault entirely. Resistance is futile. Strategically, entire sections of the Underhive are selectively collapsed to ensure there is no escape, no reinforcement, and no place to hide. From there, hundreds of thousands become millions before the day is up. Without any need to worry about this planet any longer, with assimilated ships, crews, and defense platforms protecting this new world, The tactical cube returns to the nebula to bring several tens of thousands of new drones to the Queen. Left behind, the SDF vessels begin the slow but steady transformation into appropriate Borg ships. So large compared to the standard vessels from their own universe, the Borg Collective finds Imperium ships to be all manner of quality material with which to construct a proper fleet anew. Meanwhile, back on the planet's surface, the cramped and isolated nature of the Underhive makes it impossible for the populace above to know what is going on. The lower levels of the Underhive having been all but completely assimilated by the morning after the Borg arrival, only small holdouts of the strongest and most resilient mutants and hab humans remain to resist. Even still, a single enemy assimilated can end an entire holdout if sloppily handled, and the Imperium is never the best at handling things in a clean and efficient manner, much less the gangs of the Underhive. Having seized control of all communications, thus restricting any contact with the upper districts, the Borg shut off the very lights of the community, sapping power away from the Hive City's primary heatsink before it can reach the upper levels, and sending the mountain of spires into unshielded toxic darkness. Without light to see, without shields and ventilation systems to keep the filth out and the clean air in, levels below the center of the hive begin to choke and die on their own noxious waste products. Riots break out in the streets as factories and bars alike stop working, and all the while the local law enforcement are too busy holding back the rage of the common folk to pay attention to the real problem. Protecting the elites and trying to maintain the status quo, the local administration lets the Borg infection go for days. And soon enough, even the middle levels are crawling with drones. Millions have become billions. Using transporter technology via their newly assimilated ships, the Borg quickly begin spreading out their drones across the surface of the planet. The toxicity of the ashen wastes unable to harm them, the Borg drones walk across the world in line formation, assimilating or destroying anything that gets in their way, and stripping the land of resources and resistance alike. In mere days, there are hardly any of species 5618 on planet left unassimilated, and 5 tactical cubes return to the planet to isolate potential life signs and assimilate them directly. With that, the world of Ultima Macharia is subject to planetary assimilation, a process that will take some time by itself, but requiring so little of the new Borg Collective's attention and power that it is hardly worth overseeing directly. Scanning out in all directions, and newly staffed with Borg drones, each of the 5 tactical cubes is given a planet to assimilate, and sent out to do their business. However, with the density of populations involved, their newly assimilated drones informing them that this is the standard for most Imperial worlds, a single cube need not maintain contact with a world for long. With only a few hundred drones transported to the lowest section of any hive city, billions can be assimilated in mere days, and the planet can be functionally abandoned until it is ready for planetary assimilation. Planetary defense vessels can even be largely ignored, considering the numbers the new collective is working with. Indeed, it will be possible to stop by any populated planet, drop only a few hundred drones, and leave before they have drawn terribly much suspicion. In due time, it will simply be too late to stop the new Borg Collective's agents. Highly efficient. With so many of species 5816 available for assimilation, perhaps they will even outstrip the numbers of the previous collective without much difficulty. So far, there is little reason to assume a change of tactics will be necessary. Unable to even communicate with the larger Imperium at this stage, Ultima Macharia is never able to send out word that it is under attack. The wider Imperium remains, for now, ignorant of the devastation of the coming threat. They do not yet know, as a unified empire, that
resistance is futile.